Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel and blog for another card video. This is Cassie. It is Wednesday, so that means it's Brutus Monroe Inspiration Hop Day, but it is also the 5th anniversary for Brutus Monroe. So I am making this special card to celebrate Brutus Monroe's 5th anniversary. So let's talk about some of the products that we're going to use today. I've got some circle dies that I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using these Arteza glitters. These are their holographic chunky glitter. And we've got a few colors here. They sent these to me, and so I wanted to try a technique that I saw Jennifer McGuire do using glitter and chunky glitter and laminating sheets, because I have the laminator. I've got a lot of laminating sheets, and I thought I'd give it a try. So these colors are Moonstone and Fairy Dust. The Moonstone is the purple one, and the Fairy Dust is the whiter one. And then we also have this one. This is the Mermaid Rain, and we have Electra. And I thought these were really pretty too. I'm going to try using each one of them. And to be honest, it's been a while since I watched that Jennifer McGuire video. If I can find it and remember to link it, I will link it down below. But I'm not sure if I followed her steps entirely, but I just kind of had fun and did my thing. I'm also going to be using the Outer Space stamp set. Thought this one would be fun. And then we're also going to be using the Extra Sentimental stamp set. So good times. Along with this Folkwave stencil. So I've sped this up here a little bit, and I've got the Folkwave stencil. I'm going to put that down onto some lunch bag cardstock. This lunch bag cardstock was cut down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm going to use some brush corduroy distress ink along with a mini ink blending tool, and I'm just going to pounce that all over that stencil. I don't even care if it is uniform in the pressure that I put. I just want something back on that background, because that's really all it is. It's just a background. It's not the focus, it's just the background. And so I'm just realigning my stencil, and that's why I kind of like that stencil, because it's really easy to realign, and then we'll have our background. I'll use the smaller of the circle dies, and then I'll cut that right out of that center. And then I'm going to take some Raven cardstock, and I'm going to make a frame. So I'll use the bigger one and the smaller one, and then we'll have this beautiful black frame to put around that circle that I cut out of my background. I'll take the Congrats stamp from the Extra Sentimental stamp, and then we're going to ink that up. At first I thought I'd use some Detail Raven ink, and then I decided I wanted to emboss it using the Raven Sparkle, because I love this stuff. And if we're going to have some of that chunky glitter, we might as well add a little sparkle to the outside too. So I inked that up with the embossing ink, and then I'm going to cover that with the Raven Sparkle embossing powder. Yeah, and you can see I'm taking some risk here. I could dump that all over, and you have seen me do it. But it all worked out fine, and I'm going to heat that till that is smooth and melted. And then you can see that it has some little bits of glitter in there. I love it. All right, we're going to stamp our astronaut from the Outer Space stamp set, just using some of that Raven Detail ink. And then I figure while I had that out, my card base is some more of that lunch bag cardstock, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment, Shoot for the Moon. I thought that would be a nice sentiment, since we're telling congrats for an anniversary, to just keep shooting for the moon, because for these last 5 years, Brutus Monroe has been hitting it out of the park. So very excited for Christopher and the rest of his team, and so excited to have just a very small part in maybe helping advance some of that. Who knows? All right, I'll take some of my Brutus Monroe craft glue around the outside of that frame, and then I'm going to stick that down, and then it just gives it this nice little finishing touch. And then I'll start kind of positioning my sentiment, which I did trim down. And I'm going to trim down the edges a little bit more. This is my Tim Holtz Guillotine trimmer. I'm really happy I got this. It has been very helpful in getting straighter lines. So I may try and put that on my Christmas wish list to get the bigger one, because I really like that one. I fussy cut out my little astronaut, and I'm not really going to color him, but I am going to use a silver Signo Uni-Ball gel pen for parts of him, just a couple little parts. He's not the main focus either, he's just kind of an element on there, and then we'll start adhering all those pieces to the front of my panel. I'm going to grab some more of that Brutus Monroe craft glue, and then we'll just adhere that down. Now, as I said before, I was inspired by a video that Jennifer McGuire did. Aren't we all when she does a video, right? And I don't know if you've actually seen this one, but again, it involves glitter and a laminator. And this way you can have almost like a shaker card without actually having any shake, and without necessarily having to have any bulk. I did make a mistake here. well, a couple mistakes. I dumped it for starters, and that wasn't smart. So you might want to just use your fingers or use one of those little Tonic spoons. I can't remember the name of it, but I will have it linked down below because I do end up using it. But I also had cut apart my laminating paper. I thought I was saving some paper or some laminated paper by doing it this way, but in the end, it's actually not the best idea, and I'll tell you why. Because once you put that on top, it can shift when you put it through your laminator. And I was smart enough to actually use, put it in between like a sandwich, basically put it in between some copy paper. So when it did seep out or when it shifted, it only stuck to my paper and it didn't ruin my laminator. So my advice to you would be to use a whole sheet, or if you do want to go ahead and cut them apart, just know that it's probably going to stick to your paper a little bit, and which is not a big deal. You can always trim it down, and I will show you that in the end. So you can see this one has a little bit of white around the edges, and that's where it stuck to the paper, which wasn't a big deal, but it ends up being a bigger deal on another one later. But isn't that cool? So here you have what almost looks like it would have been a shaker, but without the shaker, and it's really pretty. So here's one where it was kind of, it was stuck on the edge, and I thought I'd use some of my embossing bag because there was a lot of static electricity, but it wasn't. I just decided not to do that anymore. It wasn't a big deal because once it goes through the laminator, it squishes it anyway. And there's where I use my Tonic spoon, and that was super helpful, so I definitely recommend one of those. And then I just use my finger to kind of move that around and make it look, spread it out a little bit better. And then I'll run that through my laminator, and that one was fine. And I'm going to grab out some more of those, and once again using my spoon. This is the one where it ended up shifting, and I'll show you here in a little bit. But I love the look of it. I love how it just keeps it all contained, and then you have this look of a shaker without the bulk of a shaker. So here I close it up, stick it inside of my copy paper, and then I'm going to bring it back and see that's what happened. It will stick to all that. But again, not a big deal because you can trim it down. And this is where I thought, well, you might as well just make a whole big sheet of it, and then you can trim them down to the size that you need. But yeah, it worked out fine. I was trying to decide which one I liked best, if I wanted one, if I wanted two. I ended up really liking the look of sticking one on top of the other. I thought that was so cool, so I ended up going with that. And to adhere all that down, you want something pretty heavyweight, so I used some score tape. This is just some 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm putting that all around that back. I'll peel off all of my release paper, and then I will stick down the one that I want down, which is the blue one for starters. And there's a lot of waste at the bottom. I could have trimmed that down and used it on something else, but it's okay. I know I'll make more of these, and I have tons of glitter and tons of this chunky glitter. So if you were in the market for any chunky glitter, that Arteza stuff is a good price, and it is a lot of fun, and you get a 2-pack. So I will have that linked down below along with everything else. I end up having a little bit of hangover with this one because of the way I positioned it on there, but that's not a big deal either, especially with this guillotine trimmer. So I'll stick that in there and I'll trim off the excess, and then we'll be ready to start adhering this to the front. I thought about popping it up with foam tape, but I didn't want to. It just didn't need it. So I'll just use some more of that score tape all over the back, and then I'll adhere that down so it will have a small border of that lunch bag cardstock. And then that's actually going to finish off our card. So, as I said, this is part of a blog hop, so I will have my blog listed down below so that you can go take a look at that. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And be sure to give Christopher some love. Head on over and let them know how proud of them you are, because I know I'm super proud of them. And as always, guys, thanks so much for stopping by.